Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's time for another chapter of weird things that I find while I'm searching for items to put in my homemade MREs. Every once in a while, when I'm out searching for items to do my regular Sunday content, I stumble across items that are either just too weird or too cool to leave behind. They're not always appropriate for putting into a homemade MRE, they're just interesting items. Now, a lot of these can be used in that way, but sometimes it's best just to leave them where they are. And I'm trying these things so that you don't have to. Now this video is going to be filmed in several segments because I don't like to waste food, so unless it's just awful and I don't plan on finishing eating it, most of the things in here I'm going to have either for lunch or dinner. But if they turn out to be awful, then I've got to find something else to eat. So that being said, this is going to take place over several days, so you're going to see me changing clothes. So don't think it's weird when the next segment pops up and I'm wearing a different shirt. So to kick this thing off, I found something really crazy and it was on clearance. I think I got it at maybe Home Goods or someplace like that. I've never seen this product before, haven't seen it since, but I figured I better grab it because it was too cool to leave behind. What I found was this Bella Palermo bottled spaghetti sauce or pasta sauce. I mean, it looks like a little beer bottle. I've never seen pasta sauce in a container quite like this. It looks like it should be pretty good stuff. You just heat it up, put it over pasta. It just doesn't require anything else. So we're going to shake it up a little bit because there's no telling how long this thing's been sitting. And then I'm going to stick it in the fire maple cooker back there and just kind of let it warm up. And then I'm just going to grab a pack of noodles and throw it over the top of that and see what happens. Let's get this thing rolling. All right, we're back. I've got us some pasta ready to go. Fixing to add that sauce on here. Let's see how this stuff is. Certainly thinned out a lot from the heat. That's a good thing. It was a little clumpy when I opened it up. So, all right, let's pour this on. See what we end up with. It's a very thin sauce. There's no chunks of vegetables or meat or anything like that in there. So I'm very curious to see how it's going to taste. It smells very just straight up tomato sauce, not so much pasta sauce, but let's see what we ended up with. Let's get us a big old bite of that. See how that turned out. Bon appetit. This has a very, very natural tomatoey flavor. It is well seasoned. It has a great taste to it, but it really has that natural flavor to it. That is crazy. I mean, much more so than national brand pasta sauces or anything. This really tastes like something that your meemaw made in the kitchen. Got a little pack of Parmesan cheese from the local pizzeria. Let's get that on top of there. Now, I'm pretty sure that this stuff's not cheap at its regular price. Even on sale, it was $3 and something for this little bottle. And that's more than a lot of people pay for national brand pasta sauce. While it is very tasty, it's not cheap. Really good with a little Parmesan cheese on there. All right, I'd say this one's a winner. If you come across it at the store, give it a try. All right, let's see what's coming next. Stick around. And we're back for more. For this round, I picked up a couple of really odd items at my local Daiso store. If y'all remember, recently I did a homemade MRE video at Daiso, and that was a lot of fun. I got some really cool stuff there. Well, I also found some pretty weird stuff there. So now we're going to feature two items that I got at Daiso. The first one, it was completely unexpected. I've never seen anything like this. I've never even heard of this. But what I found was an ear of sweet corn. This is completely cooked and shelf stable, and it's got a pretty good shelf life on it. I have no idea why anybody would make pre-cooked shelf stable corn on the cob, but there we have it. But before I try this, I want to throw it in some hot water for a little bit, let it warm up just a little bit while I show you the other item because it is bananas. Well, it's not bananas, it's not even banana flavored, but you get the idea. So I'm not looking forward to this one. I picked it up because it was completely crazy, and then I started thinking about it going, I'm gonna have to eat these things, or at least try it. What I picked up was seasoned crispy crab snacks. Look in there. Those are little bitty crabs. Whole crabs. The whole crab. You hear me, people? It's a whole crab. All right, let's open this up and see what I've gotten myself into. These things always sound better when I'm looking at them from the store shelf than they do when I'm looking at them in the studio, realizing this is about to go in my face hole. And look, it's got a big old boat full of them. I'm sure anybody that buys these is going to want to eat all of those. All right, ooh, they stink. It smells like a dog fart. Ugh. Oh, I am really rethinking this idea. Oh, goodness. Anyway, here's a better look at them. So these are just whole crab bodies. Some of them even still got a leg or two left. And I'm assuming they're fried up. And we're just supposed to eat them. Like that. Goody. Oh, they really do stink. I don't understand the thing about stinky seafood with some foods. Like, I'm not a seaweed person. I don't like sushi that's wrapped in seaweed. I don't like that overly fishy taste. And I feel like the way these smell, that's what they're going to taste like. Hang on. I'm going to go get a drink and bring it in here because I have a feeling I'm going to need it. All right, I got my drink, although I feel like I'm going to need something a little more stout eating these things. All right, let's get in here. Let's see what's going to happen. I'm going to get one of these that's got legs on it just because. They're sprinkled with seasoning. Maybe that will save this a little bit. Oh, God, that smell. I'm starting to get anxious just smelling these things. Oh, my goodness. I'm not a gross food kind of person. Like, you're never going to see me eating bugs in one of these videos. It's not going to happen. That's not my thing. But I guess little sea bugs are just fine. Guess we all got to have our standards. All right, here we go. One crispy crab snack. Should I say it? I probably should say grace. Oh, God, here we go. Okay. Oh. That is awful in all caps. Oh, and I still have these tiny little pieces of that shell just all in my mouth. Oh. Why? Why Daiso? Why? Oh. There's no reason. I don't understand this. That was one of the weirdest and worst things that I've tried doing these videos. I know every one of these weird food videos, I get at least one thing that's just god-awful. Hopefully, this will be the only one in this video, because that's bad. All right, let's hope that there's some redemption with this sweet corn. I guess we open it the old-fashioned way. I mean, that's a substantial chunk of corn on the cob right there. It does have a little bit of a packagey smell to it. I'm sure that there's a preservative of some sort in here that's really coming through, because I can tell this is a packaged product, but it just looks like regular old sweet corn. So let's get a bite, see how it tastes. That's odd. Part of me wants to like it. Part of me can't get past the packaged smell and taste of this product. There's no way around it. It's there. It's very obvious. I wonder if I could hit this with something that maybe knock that down a little bit. Let's go in with some Tonys. Let's get some of this on here. See, might have been a little heavy-handed, but see if that helps a little bit with some of that. Makes it a lot more tolerable. All right, so the corn isn't horrible, but I don't think I would buy it again. It's not good enough to make me say this is something I would include in one of my kits. It's just got that overwhelming preservative taste, and it really takes away from the flavor of the corn. As soon as I lifted the corn, I could smell that, and I just couldn't get around it when I was trying to taste it. So interesting idea, not great execution. All right, let's move along, see what we're doing next. All right, so we're back for another round of insanity. With Thanksgiving coming up in the next week or so, I couldn't resist picking up a couple of products that I stumbled across the other day. I've done 2 other products from this company in the prior videos in this series, so I definitely could not pass up these 2. One of them sounds completely bonkers, so I'm curious to see how they're going to turn out. So let's take a look and see what I got. The latest offering from the Cup Noodles company is turkey Thanksgiving dinner noodles. And to top it off, why wouldn't you make pumpkin pie noodles? So these are instant noodle soup, ramen noodles in sauce. This designed to taste like a turkey dinner, and I'm sure there's going to be stuffing and other things in there. And then this one to taste like pumpkin pie. And it has with other natural flavors in it. So it's going to be good for you, right? All right, so what we got to do is get some boiling water into these and let them cook for like 8 minutes or something like that. So let's do that. Look in there. This has what appears to be cranberries. There's onions, there's corn, and cranberries. Why wouldn't you? All right, let's see what's in here. It's just seasoning. No pumpkins. I've already got the water boiled up and ready to go, so let's get that in there. There we go, perfect. All right, let's give these a few minutes to sit, come back, and we'll try them. Woo! All right, we've given it enough time to prepare, so let's dig in and let's be thankful for what we've got. We're gonna start, of course, with turkey dinner. Let me stir this up a little bit. Show you how this turned out. This doesn't smell very good. Yeah, it's got an odd smell to it. The other stuff that I've had from cup noodles has actually smelled like what it's supposed to smell like. So it's a little surprising that something like turkey dinner is that hard for them to get the smell right. What I don't see is any chunks of turkey. All right, let's get us a bite of these noodles and see if this tastes like Thanksgiving dinner. All right, here we go. Going in. I'm getting a little bit of the taste of stuffing. Not so much roast turkey or anything like that. There's just a hint of that seasoning that you expect with your Thanksgiving stuffing. It's not a bad tasting product. It's just not, it's not Thanksgiving dinner. I did find some turkey though. Look at that. How much flavor. Let's get us another big old bite of noodles. So I think it was the last time I did one of these weird food videos. I asked that everybody check in from wherever they are. I found that this channel has a lot of viewers all around the world. So let's do it again on this video. Check in and tell me where you're sitting while you're watching these videos. Also tell me if your country has a tradition like the American Thanksgiving dinner and what it is that you celebrate and how do you celebrate it. I love hearing about the cultural differences with things like that and how people go about those kind of celebrations, especially the ones that are centered around eating. All right, that one's not horrible, but like I said, it doesn't taste like Thanksgiving dinner. So let's see how the pumpkin pie tastes. So basically, I think this is just pumpkin spice noodles. A bunch of women in skin-tight jeans and knee-high boots running out right now to grab this. All right, here we go. Let's give it a try. The smell of this is really kind of a little scary, just because it smells so much like cinnamon and cloves and all that kind of stuff that it's odd with noodles. But Mama said, don't knock it till you try it. Let's try it and see if we need to knock it later. Ooh, that is super weird. Such an odd mix of flavors between the noodles and all of that seasoning and stuff that's in there. That's crazy. Once again, it's not a horrible flavor. It's just weird. Who thought of this? All right, that craziness out of the way. Let's move along, see what's next. Here we are again, another round of insanity. This time out, I found something that really got my curiosity up. If y'all watched the last video in this series, you know that I tried some canned sausage from Bannon Foods, and it was awful. I know there's a lot of people out there that love it. I got a lot of comments from people that eat it regularly. It was not to my taste. I did not care for it at all. So I don't know why I felt the need to do this, but I picked up another canned sausage. This is from a company called Geyer's Sausage Kitchen. If sausage is in the name of your company, you should be able to do sausage good, right? You'd think. Hope so. This is the Bauern bratwurst. I'm hoping this tastes like bratwurst and not some overly processed mystery meat concoction. But let's open up the can and see what's inside. It certainly doesn't sound like the last one. It's not sloshing around in there. So I'm hoping there's going to be something that actually resembles sausage inside that can. Let's pop this top up and see what awaits us underneath. That's not a good sound. However, there is a solid form of sausage in there. Let me get something to get this out and see exactly what we're dealing with. Look at there. We have sausage. All right, let me cut that up. All right, there's what we've got. This was a little hard to slice up because it's very sticky. And I was cutting through it and it just kind of kept sticking to the knife and not wanting to cut easily. But that's what we've got. I mean, it actually looks like bratwurst. Let's cut off a little chunk of this, and I'm just going to try it as is. And then if it's not totally scary, I'm going to throw some in a frying pan. See if I can put a little bit of brown on it. See if it turns out any better. It smells a little funky. It smells like canned meat, but there's also some sausage smell in there. So let's see what we ended up with. It tastes like an overly seasoned Vienna sausage. I guess I probably shouldn't have expected anything different. Not a fan of Vienna sausage. Not a huge fan of that. But let's see if we cook it a little bit, if it helps. All right, I browned these up for a pretty good while, and they're still really not just, getting a good sear on them. And this one over here is just falling apart. So I'm guessing cooking this is a bit of an art form. But now that it's heated up, we've got a little bit of a brown edge to it. Let's give it another try. See if it's made it anything redeemable. Here we go. Now it's just a hot version of the same mess it was before. I think if I took this and mixed it in with something else, it would probably work. But I can't think of a version of that I would want to eat just straight. Even on a sandwich, some bread and some mustard might make it a little more palatable. But overall, it's just not great. I think if I was going to eat that, I'd have to chop it up and mix it in with something else to make it something I would want to eat. So once again, another disappointment for canned sausage. But then again, I don't know why I expect anything different. Anyway, that's it for this one. Let's move on to the next. All right, this next item is something I made myself. If you saw my recent video where I made the freeze-dried fruit cocktail bars to imitate the ones that were in MREs in the 1980s, those turned out so good that I decided to experiment with a couple of other recipes from that era. So my next little excursion into that was to make sliced pears. That's right, freeze-dried sliced pears. Now I gave one of these to my buddy Cemetery Russ, and he said that it was embarrassing how quickly he tore through this thing because he liked it so much. So I told him I needed to go home and try one because I haven't tried them yet. So let's open this up and see how our freeze-dried sliced pears turned out. I recently was at my local Kroger store and I picked up a few more things to experiment with making these fruit squares out of. So if you're curious to see what all I picked out for that, and if you'd like me to do a video about it, leave a comment down below and tell me about it. Because one way or another, I'm gonna make them. The question is, will I video it and show you guys? So there it is. my little square of freeze-dried pears. Now the cool thing about these is that I keep all of the syrup there, and that's kind of what binds them together and creates the structure here. It smells really good. It smells like candy. All right, let's give that a try. See how it turned out. Yeah, that is a treat. Super sweet, absolutely delicious. Great crunch to it too. It's such a satisfying thing to bite into. All right, so we know that one works. That's a keeper. Let's see what happens next. All right, we are back, and this is the final round for this Weird Foods video. I hope you've liked this video so far. If you do, please give this video a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell to be made aware of all upcoming videos. And as always, just like I am feeding my face with all of this weirdness, feed the algorithm. Leave a comment. Nothing gets things moving better for this channel than a good conversation in the comments section. Also, if you haven't found me over there, I am on Instagram at Dad Budget Adventures. I post things over there that I don't post on this channel. So if you want to see some other content, just, go over there, check it out. But let's see what we've got for this round, because we are going full on bougie for this round. We've got two things to try, starting with an appetizer. Now, canned or tinned fish has been a very common thing to find in homemade MREs. In fact, one of the reasons I started doing this was that every video I saw where people were making their own MREs, it usually revolved around some kind of a pouch of tuna. It seemed to be the go-to, because at the time it was really the only thing that was in those retort style pouches. I've tried to avoid that as much as I can, but when I do use tuna, I try to kind of be a little more creative than other creators. But I started coming across something a while back that really got my curiosity up. It's not canned tuna, it's other canned fish products. There's a company called Coles that makes kind of a high-end tinned fish product. They make several different flavors, and I bought a variety pack that has 3 different flavors. We're only going to try one today because I don't want to waste anything. But the one that got my attention is smoked rainbow trout in olive oil. I love me some smoked trout. Up where my mom lives, there is a trout farm that will allow you to go and catch your own trout, and then they will prepare it for you, or they'll fillet it and send it home or whatever. But one of the things that they always have there is smoked trout. And from the minute you walk on the property, you can smell it. And then they hand out these samples of it, and it's absolutely to die for. So I love me some smoked trout, and I am super curious as to whether this is any good. Now, I also got the smoked trout with lemon and black pepper, as well as the Patagonia smoked salmon. Now, salmon is the wife's thing. I'm going to let her have that one. We'll save the smoked trout with lemon for another day. But for today, I'm going to try just the regular smoked trout. So let's pop this thing open and see what's inside. I'm going to set this down because I'm about to make a mess. So looking inside the package, you can see there's like 2 little fillets of trout in here. Now it's skin on, which is interesting. I guess maybe they want to show you that it's rainbow trout. So I'm going to scrape that skin off so that we can get to the soft white meat underneath. That smells really good. I'm really anxious to try this. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. All right, let's get us a bite just as it is, and then we'll try maybe mixing up a little something to go with it. All right, here we go. Down the hatch. That is really tasty. It's a very, very mild smoke that's on this. It's not overwhelming at all. The olive oil is very fresh tasting. It doesn't really contribute anything other than just a mild flavor to this. Let me scoop this out so we can get a better look at it. All right, there we go. Now, I will say this. When I describe this as being bougie, I mean on every level. This is a very pricey product. There is a company that makes one that's more expensive, but this ain't cheap, to be sure. So I'm definitely glad that it's a good quality and tasty product, because spending as much on this as it costs, given that that's really, I mean, you saw what I ate, that's everything that's left. There's not a lot there for the price point. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit of cream cheese into this because I think that's exactly what it needs. Now, I do realize this is not a grid down recipe or anything since we're adding cream cheese into this. I just want to see what we can do with it to make it amazing. So let's put a little bit of our smoked trout dip on top of a piece of toast and my hand, apparently. And let's see what we got here, because that just sounds like it's going to be awesome. Let's get a bite. Yeah, that is super tasty. I mean, you could spice that up all you want. You could add all kinds of seasoning and stuff to it and just make it that much better. You could even do something like this. There we go. Let's do it up right. That is so good. Delicious. All right, it's time to move on from our appetizer. Let's get on with the main course. This was another one going completely bougie and over the top. And this really caught my attention for a couple of reasons. One, it's a shelf-stable meal. But two, it's stupid expensive. I don't understand how this company even sells these things because they are so expensive. What I found was this KJ Poultry Ready Meal Beef Rib Steak. A steak dinner in a shelf-stable package. Now, this is a kosher food, so if that's something that you have to consider, then this is a good option for you. However, this is $20 for this meal. What you see right there with that steak and carrots and some other stuff. So let's get in here and see, for starters, does it look anything like the packaging? And is it any good? I've been eyeing these things for a while and just really had a hard time pulling the trigger, but I figured this video would be a great opportunity to try it out. So when you guys are watching ads on my videos, those pay for stuff like this. They pay for this little indulgence of going over the top, spending $20 on a shelf-stable steak. So please, if a commercial pops up, let it play even just for a little bit, and then if you need to skip through it, you can. But watching those commercials pays the bills around here. All right, we got it out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop this in the trucker's lunchbox for a few minutes and let it be heating up. And then we're gonna open it and reveal what is behind this plastic. All right, let's let that warm up for a little bit and we will be back in a few minutes to see what we've got. All right, I think it's been in there a sufficient amount of time to get warmed up. Let's break it out and see what it looks like. All right, let's see if we can open it. It definitely got hot enough. All right, let me set this down so it doesn't go everywhere. All right, you remember what we look like here? That is the best product-to-product photography comparison I've ever seen in my life. It looks exactly like the picture. It also does not smell great. That is not the best looking food presentation I've ever seen in my life. I hope it tastes better than it looks because it's kind of hideous looking. All right, let's see what a $20 shelf-stable steak tastes like. You can kind of see it. So I get a good look for you guys. All right, let's give it a taste. Going in. Meh. The meat is really chewy. It's very fatty tasting. It's not the best quality cut by any means. The taste is odd. It's got some unusual seasoning to it that's just not really to my liking. It's not horrible, but it is definitely not what I would choose. All right, let's try these other things that are in here. See if it's any good. I think this is kugel, maybe. It looks like the carrots are just kind of mixed in with the kugel. I mean, whatever that was, it wasn't bad. I think that maybe that's the farfel. I think this is the kugel. Let's try that. These taste exactly the same. Now, I have to say that while the steak is not the best thing in the world overall, the meal itself is very dense and filling. I feel like that if I were to eat all of this, I would be sufficiently full and would probably feel sufficiently full for a while if I'm able to eat it all. The steak tastes better as you eat more of it. The first couple of bites, it's a little off-putting, but after eating a little bit of the other stuff, my mouth kind of adjusts to it. So I'm not hating it. It's just not a $20 meal experience. It's definitely an odd one, for sure. Yeah, my taste buds are adjusting more and more to the flavor as I go. It's not terrible by any means, but it is very fatty and oily, and it's all kind of soaked down into the other stuff. But there is more than a sufficient amount of food in here to fill somebody up. So I can say, if you don't mind spending $20 for this, it'd probably be good to have on hand. It's a decent enough meal. It's just not a quality steak like you'd expect for $20. But if you need something that's going to fill your belly, this will definitely do it. All right, I'm gonna set that aside so we can wrap this thing up. This has been an interesting adventure. These are always fun for me because it takes me a few months to gather all of the things, and some of these were left over from the last video. I never even got to them. But if you like this kind of stuff, please let me know you'd like to see more of these weird food videos, and I will see what I can do about putting together another one. That's gonna be a wrap for this one. And until the next one, prepare for the world that you live in, not the one you wish existed. We'll see you around.